When we do grant workshops, we forget that asking for grants is not rattling a tin cup. Foundations and organizations exist like this, exist only to give money out. That's what asking for a grant is giving people who have more money than most of us an opportunity to do good things in communities that they would not otherwise be able to do unless people like us told them what the needs are and what our ideas for meeting those needs are. So people should feel really good about writing grants. And the single most important reason for not getting a grant is?
You don't do it.
You don't write it. Yeah. So, and a number of years ago in Governor Kitzhaber's first term, he pulled together a group of us who represented history and the humanities and all the various arts organizations in the state, and he said, you know, none of you have the amount of funding that you want. And you all come to the legislature and you're panicked that we won't fund you this or whatever. He said, if you could find some way of getting together, I would be more interested in making a permanent fund that was that you could count on. And that was how the Cultural Trust began. And the Cultural Trust is unique to Oregon. There's no other state that has an organization that is a public-private endowment partnership. And the whole goal of the Cultural Trust is to establish a permanent endowment fund. The goal is $200 million, and we're a long way from that. But should we ever achieve that, it would mean that Oregon in perpetuity could fund culture, which is recognized as arts, heritage, and humanities. And the humanities are so broad that almost anything falls underneath those organizations. We have been successful in that there is an endowment, and each year it gives monies to every county on a per capita basis and the tribal organizations. And then some, when there's significant funds, some overage over the per capita. This year, Yamhill County will receive something over $13,000 that will be distributed in grants to organizations like you. And a very important component part of YCC's granting is that because we are a nonprofit, organizations who are not nonprofit organizations and individual artists or people who have an idea for a cultural project can apply to us, which is different than most foundations. So the Oregon Cultural Trust is administered through the Oregon Arts Commission office, but it is a separate entity from the Arts Commission itself. And that board is represented by heritage, preservation, humanities organizations as well as the Oregon Arts Commission. They in themselves fund large overarching projects that serve the whole state, such as the Poet Laureate. They have special projects that they may do, sometimes focusing on humanities, sometimes focusing on heritage. And they have done some really significant kinds of things in the state. Every county has a cultural coalition, and they are set up in different kind of ways. We happen to have inherited a 501c3 status, so we're one of the few cultural coalitions in the state that is an official 501c3, which allows us to give grants to in a different kind of way, so that nonprofit organizations that do not have nonprofit status but have a cultural project that they wish to apply for may apply to us because we're a 501c3, so it's still legal to do that. And then if that award is granted, then the money comes through the coalition. One of the ways in which we achieve even additional funding for organizations and projects outside of the money from the Oregon Cultural Trust is our cultural partners. And I would encourage all of you, if you're not a cultural partner, and I know that many of you here at this table are, and near the end of the year, we do a mailing to lists that you provide with a comprehensive listing of all the kinds of great projects that you can donate to. And it is always amazing to me that after all these years, people don't understand how the Cultural Trust works. How many of you absolutely know how the Cultural Trust works? Oh, good, there were some people who didn't have that. Well, it's a private-public partnership. Initially, the state identified some surplus properties that they put into the endowment fund. There's a big chunk of property that's still waiting to see what the dispensation of that will be, but it was to launch the fund. And then they set up a matching kind of program in which all of us probably give several $100s, some of us, to various organizations. You can give $25 here and $50 here, and to the conspiracy, to arts and education, wherever. And if you give a like amount of money, for individuals it's up to $500 a year. For couples it's $1,000. For businesses and corporations it's up to $2,500. If you, whatever it is that you give to cultural organizations throughout the year, you give a like amount of that money, or some portion of that, to the Cultural Trust in Salem. And then that amount of your donation comes right off the top of your taxes. So if you pay $300 in taxes, and you've given $100 to cultural organizations, and you give $100 to the Cultural Trust, you will pay $200 in taxes. Is that clear? It's a wonderful kind of thing, and if your members are not doing that, please encourage them to do that, because lots of people don't understand that a tax credit is right off the top of what you would normally pay in taxes.
Can I ask,
Sure,
don't you
Jane.
have to itemize in order to do that?
No, you don't.
Okay, because we just have never claimed it. We didn't.
No.
Could you
We thought we had
repeat
to
from the
itemize.
time that you said a single person to married to business?
Right.
And go from there?
$500 for an individual. $1,000 for a couple, a married couple. $2,500 for a corporation, for a business. And at this point in time, you would have receipts or thank yous from the organizations you've gifted. But when you claim it on your income tax, your Oregon state tax, so far people have not been asked to identify their specific contributions. I believe that will change, and if you work with a CPA or an accountant, they'll be happy to have your receipts just so that they're confirmed in that. But it's fairly simple, so it's right off the top of whatever you would pay in Oregon state taxes. Now, for federal filing, you do have to be an itemizer. So it's federal filing that requires you to be to itemize, but you don't have to itemize in order to claim it on your Oregon taxes. Is that helpful?
Yes.
So that's what the cultural partnership is in terms of securing, helping your public, your membership, your wider kind of group to understand that, yes, Eve, I see you looking at your watch, but it's amazing how many times we have to think through what this is about. You provide a mailing list to YCCC of your members, and then a letter goes out saying and listing your specific projects. Now, if you're an organization that has more than one project, you can segment your projects. You want so much to go to arts education, you want so much to go to your summer music festival, or you give people that choice. So it's a very nice way of being partners with us. And then they send the money to us, and in January, our organization, the Yamhill Cultural Coalition, distributes you a check and an accounting of who contributed to you and how much, and what your share of that is. So now on to